Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's always good to actually talk to several people because the more you get advice, the more it starts to be conflicting, and that also gives you the perspective that there is no one right way. Also, like this, I mean, you gather the information and you kind of see what resonates, and some people, even though they might sound very confident in knowing exactly how the world is, and this is exactly what you should do. I've done, I've done this before. I know your startup style. This is do this, and they might not know the best. So the confidence of the advisor is not always in correlation with like if you should actually follow that train of thought. I think AI itself, as mentioned, is becoming a teacher. So AI can help you develop. It can even give you hints on like what should I do next. So um, I heard some startup founder who was so far a solo founder was using it as a sparring partner, like as if like please play along as if you were my co-founder. I have this issue I want to tell you about. And then then you get a reply from it. So you can try that. But I don't think it actually is quite the same as having that conversation with a human. Yes, yes, yes. So actually, yeah, looking for a job. If you're looking for a place to land, then yes, study the culture. Look at what's the company about, and who are the founders. I mean, if the founder is the type of person that you or the boss or the manager, whoever in the company you're gonna kind of work for, if that's a person that you don't like and you can't like respect, you cannot have some kind of respect for that person, it's gonna be triple for you and for her or him on like having that work relationship. So like yeah, like see like who are the people and what are the values of the company, and also that's a very good way to land a job in the first place. That
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vibe It Up, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of tech. I'm your host, Dan Tudorache, and I bring over 20 years of experience in the software development industry, wearing multiple hats as a solution architect, leadership coach, trainer, and now as a psychologist too. So, you might be wondering, what's the vibe all about? Well, Vibe It Up, it's not just a podcast, it's a community, a space where we connect with tech professionals. And in tech, it's about the people and about the creativity. It's not about just the code. So I have with me today Elina Arponen. Hello, Elina. I'm grateful to have you here in my show. How are you today?
yes, I'm doing well, thank you.
Thank you for being here. And will let you present a little on yourself. What do you do? I know you are in the gaming industry from a long time ago, but tell me more about your current role or current company. What do you do?
Yes, I've been in the gaming industry almost 20 years, and I'm on my second kind of own company where I'm the co-founder and CEO. We had a previous company that was then acquired 2015, and 2017 we founded Quicksave Interactive is where I'm at now. So Quicksave develops HTML5 and WebGL development toolkit. So we have tools and technology to develop games. We've also done games. We have a studio. We keep doing games ourselves, but we've recently also started to license the technology that we have. Um, and that is a kind of a growing sector in the gaming industry on having games embedded in different applications. So they are not necessarily from directly from the app store, but they could be inside different apps. And then it's basically web technology that you're using, but it might not look like a browser to the user, but it's it's still technically it's web, but it's kind of embedded, and that's kind of the area where we are currently going around. But I have a lot of experience in and overall the gaming industry and the startup scene as well, where I've been around in Finland now for quite a while.
Oh, awesome! What kind of games do you develop now?
So the games we've done in the studio, it's like it's actually many types of games. We've had a couple of games also on the blockchain. So we have a couple of Web3 games that are out there that we've done for two different market web like Web3 marketplaces, and then we have games that we've done for like Facebook instant games. We have a game on Zoom. So there's a werewolf game that's like a social hidden identity game that you can play while you are having a Zoom call. So something something fun to do with colleagues as well. And so we've done quite a few multiplayer games, a lot of social games. So it's usually about connecting with other people is the type of games. Yeah, and the tools we have now is like they are also focused on like how to make the development process easy and delightful, so that it's not you can iterate quickly and it's not cumbersome thing to build a high quality web game.
Oh, I see. Interesting, interesting. And that tool that you speak of, there's some sort of CMS for developing in games, or do you have the entire? It's like um development tool. What?
So it's like we have a couple of editors. We have like a layout editor that you can use to kind of an artist would use to make the layouts for the game. And then we have a machine editor, which is controlling like the state machine on like which state the game is moving on. And there's other like game engine components, backend components. But I would say the editors, the UI editor section is like really the kind of shiniest. Shiniest. It's a really really nice piece of technology, and it's now using Pixie JS for rendering. So if anyone who's familiar with web tech might have run into Pixie, and that's a very efficient rendering.
Mm, okay, okay. Yeah, that's interesting industry. So I've seen that you have a lot of experience in that. But when you started to work in tech, you started already in the first phase in the gaming. Or what was your history back then?
Yeah. I mean, I have a technical background. I studied computer science, so I studied as a programmer in the industry. But yes, it was already a gaming company. I studied digital chocolate, and I was programming like J2ME and Pro games, and so basically like those early mobile titles before iPhone and the and the really smartphones came out. So that was the kind of earliest things, and then obviously one thing with the industry, with the gaming industry, is that it's always changing, and that's something that I also like about the industry, that there's always ways to like challenge yourself and ways to innovate. Like now that I've moved into the kind of business and management side a bit more, I mean, I can still talk tech, which is useful. I can kind of understand some of the concepts because of my very engineering heavy background, but I haven't touched code for so many years already. But I like about the industry that it keeps changing. Obviously, right now there's a lot of turbulence. Like we are going through a really rough time, the gaming industry. I mean, I know overall tech and overall, like in the many different industries are being disrupted by new technologies, and there's a lot of uncertainty in the market on so many things. In gaming, it's been really like there's been a lot of layoffs recently, like this year already. Like there's been I think I haven't checked the numbers myself. Somebody told me like this year there's been more layoffs than last year combined, but it's on that level. So uh, in gaming, it's strictly in gaming. So there's been some big layoffs announced this year around gaming, and and so the whole market is kind of like in stressful situation, I would say, right now. I mean, gaming itself hasn't gone anywhere. Like people are playing as people are playing as much as ever. So I'm sure we will recover from this, and but it's also like it does require like companies, individuals to look at new innovative ways again on like how to go out with the games and what kind of games and how to reach customers so that we get new content. I mean, one thing that has happened also regarding gaming is like players stay longer and longer within the same titles. So like there's a lot of loyalty to certain titles and brands. So that also makes it, I mean, it makes it harder to break out with a new thing. But I think eventually players will also benefit from getting new innovations and brand new stuff. So yeah, we'll need to find a balance on like how do we introduce new innovations to the players and yeah, but it's definitely like right now challenging, but yeah, I mean, I can see that. Well, we are working already on this web technology, so I can see that there are other areas that can grow and come to maybe replace some of the things that then yeah are currently there.
From what I understand and what I've seen in new technologies emerging and so on, these years are somehow a reshaping of technology, maybe, or I don't know how to say in just in one word. How what's happening now with the technology worldwide?
Um, so well, the AI is obviously the big big word here now, and I think every company should be looking at utilizing AI in their development process, and also like individually, like you should be looking into how you can use AI um, in your work, or I mean, if you're like let's say your team or boss would not accept you to use AI, they would be super stupid to do that. I mean, it's kind of like, of course, everyone uses it, and and also like if you are looking for to get into any industry, you should start studying. That's the thing you need to know on like how to use it. I mean, we recently got like ChatGPT 4 to everyone in our team, and I was first like hesitant on like myself, for example, like 3.5 or 4. Like I just use it to stylize my text, or I just use it like give me like an outline of certain document or before I start, and simple things. And I was like 3.5 should be fine for me, but 4 is better. 4 is better. It's not free, but it's better. And I look at it so that okay, there's a cost of getting that to everyone in the team, but it's kind of like if it makes everyone like 10-15% either more efficient or increases the quality that much, it's worth it. It's like hiring a new person per 10 people or something like so um so yeah, definitely just using AI, even these generic AIs, to either speed up things or make them better. Like, yeah, that's like I use, for example, ChatGPT for things like I've written something already, it's done. I used half an hour for it or 45 minutes, and then I give it because I'm not native English speaker. So then I give it the ChatGPT. Can you make this better? It always comes out better. I mean, not a lot different, but it's better. Yeah. So AI is a big thing. It's in so many levels.
Hmm. Yes, as assistant, it works better as for framing, reformatting text, content, and so on, and even generate ideas on some key topics that we don't know. For a start, just for the start, where to search from, what materials, what type of things to go after when you build something, for example, and you.
Yeah, you don't have to sit with the blank page problem. Like if you have this blank page and you're kind of, what should I write? Check with the later, the closest Chennai. It doesn't have to be ChatGPT. There's other options, but check from there. Like just a generic ideation, and you have something. You have a place to start. And what I've heard is for coding, for example, it's very good at teaching you things like can you teach me how this thing works? And if you ask it, if you're going to frame it as like, can you be the teacher and explain this concept to me, and it'll do a good job at it.
Yes, yeah, educational wise, it could also benefit. And I've seen a lot of applications now that are using large models, ChatGPT and others, just to shape their output in the business direction that they want in the industry. Either is coding, either is business, either is anything else. They just create it and generate on that direction everything. So it's it is a revolution.
It is. I mean, and it's only like getting better here. Of course, like it doesn't like do all of it for you. Although with games, like there are a couple of AI. I know there's some companies developing like strictly AI tools so that you can prompt a full game, But that's, and it's that is coming as well, but it's still fairly like it's certain styles of games, or it's like either it's like, okay, all these are like 3D open world games, or these are like 2D, some kind of, like this, but there's AIs for different styles starting to pop up, and it'll be super interesting to see how that goes. Yeah.
Um, and I do want to ask you how it was for you when you start your career in tech. What challenges did you had? What do you felt like it's missing and you need an external help then?
Yeah, I think just like hmm, yeah, I mean the beginning, like the the proof that you can do it in a way. I mean, uh, I I think I was at the time lucky to get my first job without much of a portfolio. I mean, I had recently graduated, so of course I had some of the stuff like the kind of thesis I did for the uni, and I had like school stuff, which is great for portfolio. Like do do that, but I think in tech, and especially like if you are in the startup world or gaming world, it's less about your kind of official credentials on like how many degrees you got, but it's more about like what you have to show for it. And I think that's like something that uh yeah, like I was also like, yeah, I did get the first one without building a long portfolio, and then of course at there you start to get more references on what you've done, because that's especially I guess in the gaming, but elsewhere as well, in especially like startups where it's a kind of fast moving companies that needs you to also to keep learning. I think that has been helpful for me as well, that I've always been curious to look at things that I don't know yet. Like I've always been fairly like fairly comfortable stepping out of my comfort zone. I think that helps, because then if you are kind of like, hey, I don't know that yet, but it sounds interesting, and so um, and one thing I noticed actually studying computer science, that it was easier for me to ask kind of stupid questions in the beginning than some of my male colleagues. I don't know why, but it felt like, us, like, who are the minority, the women. Everyone was assuming like the women don't know shit anyway. So, so maybe it was part of it. So I was okay like asking questions, and I was then learning, like I was getting it. And then if you are like, I think that would be my advice to anyone who's like a more junior, like ask the questions, and don't play along as if you knew everything, if you don't, because that's going to hurt you in the long run. Like if you get some like a task given to you on like, hey, you should do this thing, and you don't really get it, like like you like, I'll go and find out somehow, and then okay, maybe you do that first, you go and try to find out, but then because it's gonna it's gonna come out if you are not in there, like if you don't know what it's all about. So yeah, I mean, asking questions is good. Yeah, and I think that's the kind of sign of a senior in technology, that the senior knows how much they don't know. It's kind of like a senior is someone who's comfortable saying, I don't know. That's this one. Yeah.
That came with experience and also with emotional intelligence part, because saying I don't know, saying I need help becomes the it is part of the our emotional intelligence. Ask for help, create the bonding, being there as a team member, and helping others too. It's a part of our not role, but our being, the humans in this world. So helping each other is part of that, and asking for help is good to have. And I wonder, you stepped from a purely technical role to management. in the first place, or did you went into startup right?
Um, no, I already at the company where I was working, I started to take a managing role. Like I had a role in between where I was leading a team but still doing technical work, and then I had a role where I was mainly just leading a team, and yeah, already there like not much touching the tech, and I have to say um, that I do admire people who can keep both. I mean, 'cause it's very different mindsets on being on this management role where it's all about interruptions, and then you have the coding role where it's not allowed to be. You cannot be interrupted. Otherwise, that's. I mean, to be fair though, like with management type of activities as well, there is a switch cost on going from task to another. So you shouldn't underestimate that on whether you are having calls or you're writing emails or something. It's a different energy. So you should be buffering yourself between things you do that are very different from each other. But like, well, we all know that coding is something that you need your headspace to be there in uninterrupted. So yeah, I was already going to a managerial role at Digital Chocolate before founding my own company, and I guess that's one of the reasons why I was I was chosen to be the CEO in the first company already, because I had been doing some management and I was kind of most interested, and I had like everyone else was kind of like a more of an expert in one, and I was I was already a person who was kind of looking curious about a little bit of everything, and so I had been extending myself, and actually that's one thing that happens in a startup, in a smaller company, that everyone needs to extend themselves a little bit outside their core competence. So it's kind of like two different tracks on, like, do you want to be like, let's say you are AI and machine learning expert, and that's your passion, and that's the thing you want to do, and you want to focus only on that. So unless it's a startup that's doing AI and machine learning technology, then probably the startup doesn't have a role that can only have that. It's probably going to be like, oh, can you also do this UI work, or can you go this database thing, and can you do this and that? So like, the smaller the company, the more varied it'll be, which is great for some people. Some people love that. But if you then want to be just like, hey, I want to do this one thing, then better look for a corporation that's big enough to handle very specialized roles. Um, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And I also had this conversation with my previous guests, choosing generalist over specialist. What and where it's the best fit for them, and how they manage to stay on their uh, side of preference to for the work. Being a generalist, it means you are eager to learn about everything, and you are curious and explore and learn about, starting from infrastructure, DevOps, and going code, databases, and testing and deployment, and so on. While if you are just a specialist, you are going into, okay, just code in Python and or any other programming language, or doing AI algorithms for that, and I don't go beyond that. Some companies have the structure and the roles well defined for them to fit. If they want to be a specialist, DevOps to be just DevOps, not doing also development.
Yeah. I mean, and it's also very related to the size of the company. But if you are unsure on like which one is your thing, a smaller startup might be a good place to explore, because then you get to see more of the like how the whole business works, and it's more transparent. Like and you can kind of see very tangibly your actions being affecting the whole outcome, because in a smaller team everyone has a very big impact. So yeah, if you're not yet sure, but if you are sure, then then keep it your own. I mean, I think there are two different tracks, and yeah, you can kind of do well on both.
Yes, yes, indeed. And I wanted to ask you for you. I understood that from the task point of view, yeah, there is a difference, and I've also passed from a technical role to management role, and there are a lot of changes in the way what you are do day long, right? But I'm wondering, based on your skills, did you have the skills to step from one technical role to one management role? Or if not, what do you think you missed?
Um, yeah, I've always been kind of like I've been in a leadership role now for, let's say, with the companies for, let me think, 13 or 14 years something, and before that a few years, at least like 15 years at least, in some kind of like a management leadership role. And it's been still in the past years I've been thinking on like I haven't read a lot of like leadership manuals or kind of studied the subject as such. Of course I do read a lot of startup books and kind of like um, things like, kind of lean development and but it's more like how to run a startup, not how to be a leader in a way. But something I recently uh, heard about leadership, like an idea that leadership is a kind of long-term commitment. It's something that you bring into the game every day by being there on how do you, treat people, how do you show up, how do you show example, that it's not so much about like, hey, I gave this big presentation or I made this one big strategic choice, or like, it's I mean, those can be like the highlights, they can be the punctuations on like, where kind of you are most visible to the organization and to everyone around you. But it's also this kind of long-term thing on like how do you commit to your role in the leadership. And so I think that's a great thought. I like that because it also allows for the space that everyone has their own style at it. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just really basics of empathy and human communication on, listening to the other person. I think I'm still learning on like giving and getting feedback. That's always hard. That's like a human nature. We don't like to get critical feedback, but we still should get that. We we need that feedback to improve because we only learn from trial and error and to get better. But so I would say like it's a never ending learning trip for the mastery of how to be a manager or leadership role. And yeah, if you've like I wouldn't like, well, like just starting out, I wouldn't hold like too big a bar for it. Like, am I ready? And like, should I have this or that? Or like, um, well, especially women again, like tend to hold like too, like I need to have a certification for this before I can do it, or I need to have this or that, and like no, I think it's more of an internal thing. If you get an opportunity, like yeah, why not? It's kind of like those job ads you see that they have like a list of things, like 10 different things you need to fill. You may not need to fill all of them. Like, you can apply, you can try for it. And yeah.
Yes, indeed, there are many differences, and in leadership, best and first thing to have as a leader is the emotional intelligence, starting with knowing yourself, the self awareness, self regulation. How do you understand your emotions, your triggers, and how you manage to control them? Because many times we speak about communication. Communication is something that you transmit to the world, and the other world transmit to you, and you listen and you get that message. If your mindset doesn't allow you to read everything from the other part and also to receive all these things, you are in a blind spot because the message get distorted, and that happens between teams, and between humans. That's why it's better not to send negative messages on email, feedback, anything it is, because it can be understood differently. The other person might take it very harsh, or I don't know. You don't have the same words, you don't have the mimics, the face to say how do you want to transmit that. And I've seen a lot of companies imposing this rule not to send negative feedback in email or something negative, bad news, or anything in this direction, because people can feel a different from the other part. And that's why the emotional intelligence is the base of leadership, and being a leader, being the one who transmits the vision and make people follow you into your vision, because that's what creates a good team, people to see the value of what you are doing there. And you need to be able to transmit that with emotions from yourself, and let yourself be there in this regard. And I
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I definitely agree with the part of like no like negative messages in email. I even prefer to do it face to face if possible and not in a call. Uh, or if it's a call, then at least with an image, like something that gets you like could like translate the message best, and then you can also see and kind of see how the other one is reacting. So maybe they get it wrong, or maybe they like so it's so much easier to kind of deal with this difficulty, even if it's not like a negative thing, but if it's just like a difficult message to kind of understand, or some kind of um, a thing that is changing. So yeah, and I think like there's been also like a study on this, like remote calling systems that they have a lag in them. So actually, like that is a little bit disturbing, stressful for the brain, because you have this lag in the communication that you don't kind of notice it. Your brain does notice it. So that's, I think, one of the reasons for this tune fatigue that that people are talking about.
Yes, yes, indeed. And on the same on the same note, what I wanted to say, I think I lost my idea here.
Sorry, I was too big a
No worries.
cut.
It's okay, but only the verbal and words are 7% of the entire communication. Just 7%. So you sent on email just 7% of that communication. The other part is non-verbal communication, and everything in this regard, starting with our voice, our tone, our face, our mimic, our body position, everything in this direction makes the other part of the communication. So it is something that yeah, to look forward. But I was wondering, how do you see now the impact of remote work? Often many people are preferring to stay at home, especially if they are in big cities, and only commute for them takes 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, just one way, and they benefit from 3 hours in that day. What's the impact in the human relationships, in the human and people development long term?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of um, differing opinions on this. Like, some companies are now built like fully remotely, and some companies are like, no, you have to come to the office every day. That's how we work, and uh, and then there's the hybrid, and I'd say we are in the hybrid hybrid world ourselves, because I do see the benefit of the freedom of not having to commute. I mean, I enjoy that myself. in the summer when the weather is good in Finland, we can go to the countryside. I can work from our summer cottage, and jump to the lake sometimes, and that's all like part of the workday, because you're there like in the nature, and so like having the possibility to kind of work remotely sometimes, it's really good, and and it does give, yeah, kind of freedom. And it means that you need to trust your employees, you need to trust the team, that they are they are still there and doing it, but like you need to have the trust anyways in a good team. And but then again, like you do lose the, um, I would say, the human human connection a little bit with these calls. So what we've done now with our hybrid is like 4 times a year we have like like every quarter we have a company event where everyone comes to. Also, like we have a person in Sweden, we have somebody who's like a bit of north of Helsinki, not in the Helsinki region. So like everyone kind of comes in, and then every 2 weeks now we have a, like a sprint planning day when everyone comes to the office. And there everyone means like who's in the Helsinki region, and we're still mainly here. Like we are fairly local company, so we can kind of do that, and it's nice that it's more of a kind of, you can easily catch up, and you can just like, have this like, well, okay, what happened on the weekend, and all that is a bit easier. Otherwise, the office is there. We have an office. It's free to use. Some people use it more. Some people use it less. It's up to their personal preference. Sometimes, if we have a workshop, we can like decide that, hey, everyone is now like in the Helsinki area, so we can all go and have this workshop in person. It might be easier to kind of pass on the post-it notes on the table rather than than virtually. So yeah, I mean, which one will, I mean, I don't think like the everyone in the office, um, is a long-term viable option though. I think it's gonna be a niche way of working in the future. I mean, that's just how things are going. People want the freedom. Um, so yeah, I think companies just need to get better at building culture remotely. There's still ways to go with that, on like how do you have your culture, um because it's something that is so intangible. Like you need to write your culture down, and you need to have it kind of written, but it's still something you live and breathe every day. And does it really transfer in a few calls? And if it doesn't, then what it means is like people are moving around more. Like, it's easier for them to come and go to companies, and yeah, you might not get this sense of community within the company as easily.
Yeah, the sense of a team and not a group of people. So being a team, it means you have also relationships there that are meaningful, and there is a connection between team members and a trust that establishes there. And while you lose that trust, or you don't have it, or the relationships are just transactional in terms of, okay, you have the ticket in Jira, just go and and do it, rather than, okay, we're humans, let's get along each other, let's play, let's go out to get a beer, let's go out to get some food. That is missing in the entire dynamic of team and work and so on. So we need to find and implement strategies in order to create the same relationships, but in maybe other environments, not necessarily in the office. You can do that, go outside, go camping, go, I don't know, um, many options there are there. Go and facilitate some activities between team members.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even if you don't have the physical office, I mean, that was something that we were considering just a while ago. On like, do we really need the physical office, or when we have these team days and I mean, already the events are like outside the office mainly. So like, and even like booking a meeting room, there's like, so many options in the Helsinki center. If you need a meeting room for a day, you just can go and book it for a day. But we still opted to have a kind of a home base, because it's kind of like, yeah, it's more secure, it's always stable, it's we can have our branding, we can have all our stuff there, it's kind of like we can make it ours. So so yeah, that kind of feels that's still our way. Yeah.
That's good. I mean, you are trying just to have that um, feeling of organization, but to be warm and human centered, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, even at our office layout currently is such that there are those rooms that can be closed with a door, and they are the rooms that are actually for this kind of silent work. So people's desks and computers are within these rooms, and then in the middle, like there's this large space um, that is just kind of hang around, hanging around space. And we have a meeting corner there where we have a like a projector and all the audio visual systems set up, and there's a small kitchen area where you can get your coffee and so. But like I, I'd say more than half of this of the of the office space is kind of this like common space, because then when you come there, it's easier to kind of sit on the couches and kind of like talk. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And on the same note, I do wonder what's your point of view regarding AI impact in human and people development and people relationships nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, um, I think for like people development, so I think AI itself, as mentioned, is becoming a teacher. So AI can help you develop. It can even give you hints on like what should I do next. So I heard some startup founder who was so far a solo founder was using it as a sparring partner, on like as if like please play along as if you were my co-founder. I have this issue I want to tell you about. And then then you get a reply from it. So you can try that. But I don't think it actually is quite the same as having that conversation with a human. So um so yeah, I mean eh, I think where it's mostly challenging is with these remote messaging. Like you said, that email, you shouldn't give negative things in email, but writing an email is also like my current email tool has like AI enhancements, so AI can help me to build my email, and it also has an automatic summary of the emails that I get. So we were just laughing the other day that soon we have like uh, people writing bullet points and then AI making it an email, and then AI summarizing that to bullet points to the receiver who's looking at bullet points, and then then the reply comes back, and it's actually like two AIs having these longer longer discussions, and the managers looking at the emails just want to have like, okay, just tell me quickly what it's about. So that's not a very human touch. So I think um, I think one thing is that within the gaming industry, even though like we adapted very quickly during the pandemic, like there was like a 3 4 months of uncertainty, but by the autumn of 2020, the whole gaming industry globally was all kind of online. Like conferences were online, and meetings were online, and everyone suddenly was like comfortable having calls. But then after after the pandemic ended and I went to my first live conference meeting other people, I was like, oh, was it this nice? I'm here and I'm present and I see the person. So gaming industry has gone back to live conferences. Not as much. I think there's less kind of must have conferences nowadays. I mean, people travel less. There's still online events happening. So even that has gone hybrid. So business development is now in hybrid mode. But yeah, like I'm going like next week. I'm traveling to California because there's like the biggest like the GDC conference coming up, and there's gonna be thousands of people there just to meet other people. So I think that's a testament to the value of the human connection. Like you do benefit from being there. present and hearing about it from the other person. It's yeah, I think there's value in that. And I don't know if technologically, like VRs and stuff, will ever ever get to that same level of presence. At least not yet. They're not yet there. So yeah.
Yeah, people um, all the time when we had physical conferences after the pandemic time, it it's visible that people want to be there, that are eager to create relationships, to talk with each other in person, not online. And that was a part was missing. That part was missing in during pandemic. And yeah, that's why I asked you about the impact. What can you see, the negative part in this, right? AI. And one is that, yes, the connections and relationships that we are creating are not that deep. Mentor mentee, for example, because the mentee has, in the first phase, ChatGPT as a mentor. Just an example. Right. And after that, when you see that um, ChatGPT is not a good mentor, you go and find a real one. And yes, speaking of mentors, did you had mentors starting your career and maybe now too?
Yeah, yeah. I've had mentors or advisors, kind of whichever you want to call it. Always, yeah, and it's various times. It might have a certain time, certain relationship might go, and then your situation changes, their situation changes, and sometimes it lasts longer, sometimes less time, but yeah, I mean, I think in Finland, in both the gaming scene and the startup scene, people are very approachable, which I think is one of the strengths that we have here. And even if it's just like a one discussion, like you can easily get people's uh, like time at least for a lunch or a coffee or something. And then if it really clicks off that the other person is, hey, I really love your idea, I want to support this longer, then maybe it becomes a longer relationship. But yeah, I would say that if you're looking for mentors, you should kind of keep the initial expectation low, like just can we have a coffee, can I, like a little bit something, and then see how that goes. Because also with mentors and advisors, it's like it's a personality question also, like how kind of well you hit off, in the sense that you see the world not the same way, but it's something that's aligned. And there should be some kind of a match, yes. I mean, of course, the other person should have some insights and ideas that grow you. I mean, if it's too much of a match, then there's no growth in it that much, or so. But yeah, there should be a match.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, that's what why I asked you regarding the mentors, because it's very important for us to go to get experience from other people that have been in our role, our positions, and are able to see different. Because when we are in a blind spot, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's always good to actually talk to several people, because the more you get advice, the more it starts to be conflicting, and that also gives you the perspective that there's no one right way also. Like there's, I mean, you gather the information and you kind of see what resonates. And some people, even though they might sound very confident in knowing exactly how the world is, and this is exactly what you should do. I've done this before. I know your startup style. This is, do this. And they might not know the best, so the confidence of the advisor is not always in correlation with, like, if you should actually follow that train of thought. Maybe you should, but it's up to you to make that decision and make the call on, like, whose advice to follow, because you cannot follow all the advice you get because it's going to get conflicting. It's just cannot. Someone is saying do this and the other one is saying do that, and what do you know? So so yeah, that's kind of like, but that's really helpful for building your own vision on like, who am I, what is my role, what is our product, what is our business, and even for like kind of career moves, or like, you can talk to several people, and usually that's kind of expands your thinking. So you see things in a ways that you were not thinking before, and then I go, okay, that's interesting way, like, yeah, like never say no, like, oh, I disagree, like, like, always appreciate if people give you their time. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Uh, I wonder, based on your experience, if you would have to jump and create a new team right now, what will be the qualities of and abilities of people joining in that team that you want to be in that team?
That's a good question. I think actually I think we're doing quite well with our current team. I'm quite proud of our team now, so I can reference that. For the founding team, what we have is, if you're looking for founding team, of course, that's, might be, internal team in some company. We have three people, and it's kind of the textbook division of the people. So there's one who's the CTO and technology lead, and then there's one who's the kind of creative product lead, and then there's one who's the business funding partnerships, which is me. So I think that, like, um, kind of hacker, designer, hustler is the kind of Silicon Valley terms for those three roles that you need to start a startup. So uh, we've kind of found that triplet now. I mean, we found it together, the previous company, but that had a wider founding team. But then it's, the second one was just the three of us now, and I think that's a good division. It's been proven to work in some other teams as well. I don't say it's the only way. Like, you shouldn't also like overthink this and over engineer your starting theme. Like, it's sometimes there's a, serendipity involved, that it just happens with, like, I don't know, two sales guys, and then it's still like, then they gather up the team, the missing parts. Um, but yeah, I think that teams, like, culturally need to be cohesive. So, um, I mean, you need diversity, yes, but you still need alignment in the culture as well. Like, you cannot hire people who are too disruptive for the way you work. So if someone, like the actually, like, the best thing to do is, like, be very upfront with your culture and your values, so that people already applying in know the kind of culture they are getting into, so that you attract the type of people that actually want to live in that kind of culture, because the culture is not going to easily change, and it's going to be a constant disruption if someone is wanting to do differently, like for example us, like, due to this, our fourth value being like freedom, and we don't have like early morning stand-up meetings, because you don't have to be there in that early morning if that's not your style, and that might be um, not to someone's liking. Like, somebody wants to have more rigid structure and wants to start their day every day with a 15-minute stand-up, and then you know um, so there needs to be cultural fit with diversity. So like, this is like, where do you, like, your culture needs to grow. So you need to hire people who are not also all in the same mold, because then it's like there's no there's no like new ideas coming. And one thing we've been looking at is this theory that there are people who are kind of vision oriented, there's process oriented people, and there's people oriented people. So some people, they care who they work with, some people care how they work with what is the process, and some people care a lot why they work, like what's the vision. And you should have kind of all different styles of people in your team. When you are starting like a new project, you just have to explain all three. Like you have to consider too, like this is why we do it, this is how we do it, these are the people going to do it. So like you just, and and like us founders all being like Finns, we are quite direct and I guess you could say blunt sometimes. So we knew we are very, and we are all three. We are either vision, actually we're all quite vision oriented or process oriented, and we knew we needed to have more people oriented people in the team. We want to have a really nice like a people culture. And then so yeah, you consider this kind of like personality questions also in your hiring, like are we missing the people, like like we need more of that. We need to we don't want to be like crumpy engineers, all of us. That'd be terrible. So yeah, like this is how you diversify and grow your culture also, but still there are certain cultural principles that everyone values. So like yeah, like yeah, yeah.
Mm, yes, indeed, and yeah, it's very important for them to fit to organization, but the organization to have people that are a good fit for them.
Yes, yes, yes. So actually, yeah, looking for a job. If you're looking for a place to land, then yes, study the culture. Look at what's the company about, and who are the founders. I mean, if the founder is the type of person that you or the boss or the manager, whoever in the company you're gonna kind of work for, if that's a person that you don't like and you can't like respect, you cannot have some kind of respect for that person, it's gonna be terrible for you and for her or him on like having that work relationship. So like yeah, like see like who are the people and what are the values of the company. And also that's a very good way to land a job in the first place, that if you come in and you approach a company already knowing something about them, and then you can have these intelligent questions on like, okay, so how do you actually like you say your value is this and that, how does it actually manifest in your work or like in the team dynamics, or like how do you support these cultural things, because they should be supported in the actual work as well. So I think companies would also appreciate it a lot if you had spent the time, but then also you probably find a place where you actually thrive, and it's the kind of workplace where you want to be. And yeah.
Hmm. Yes, indeed. One quick question I put to all my guests: if you would have the occasion to have dinner with someone in the tech industry, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's very difficult question. Oh my gosh. um hmm. I've had this. I've had this sometimes, this imaginary dinner table on like who would be on my dinner table, although those people are um, not like on the tech industry though. Like there's like politicians and comedians, and there's like people who are uh yeah, strictly on the tech. Yeah, it's weird because it's been changing. um like some of these grand figures like like Elon Musk, that was interesting at a point, but I think it's past being past being interesting to me right now. um Although of course, like if you pick somebody who's super controversial, then of course then also like that could be interesting, not perhaps from in the point of like learning from them, but I guess it would be otherwise interesting. But I guess for this kind of an opportunity, I would want to choose someone who I would genuinely want to kind of learn from. Oh, outside of tech, who I just have a lunch with, I'm gonna um, I'm gonna go with Trevor Noah, but like that's just like a random. We went to his show some months ago, and I've been just following his stuff. But he's a comedian, so he's like a political commentator. I don't know if you know him, but a US guy. Anyways, um, but next time if we meet, I'll find you a tech person. It's too hard to name one. I mean, any of the big, like I guess like fan leaders would be great to meet. Like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk would be great to me. Like all these guys. Like I guess um, yeah, that would be super super cool to have lunch. So why not? But I cannot pick like one at this point so quickly.
And that's fine. Okay, okay. Thank you very much. As we prepare for close, I don't know. Do you have some final thoughts for the podcast? Is there a piece of advice or insight you would like to leave with the audience?
um, Yeah, I guess the one kind of advice and way of thinking that I'm always kind of repeating is that when you're looking to kind of develop yourself or your team or like doing new stuff, it always takes longer than you would like to. So some patience, and I know especially now it's needed with the markets being so turbulent, and it feels like in gaming or tech general, like AI coming. It seems like there's a lot of kind of threats in the air and where it's gonna go. um, yeah, positivity and patience. Yeah, it's needed right now, and we'll get through the turbulence. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you very much. And if you could name one thing you got from this hour today with me.
Oh, I think it was quite interesting when the way you talk about the kind of emotional intelligence and the kind of emotional aspect of teams and working. I mean, that's something that I kind of need to keep reminded of. Being engineer at the bottom, being very process oriented and factually oriented person. Um, yeah, I mean, this is like the people connection is something that still drives us all, and we need to keep that top of mind.
Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Great. How did you feel today?
Good. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much for having me here. I think it was a great conversation. Yeah, and I hope I can give some value to the listeners as well.
Sure. I I'm pretty sure you already did that. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Vibe It Up. I hope you enjoyed our insightful conversation with Elena. With Elena. And before we go, I want to extend a big thank you to our guest for sharing his valuable experience and perspective. So if you, our listeners, have been, I don't know, moved or touched by anything in this episode, do you want to contact us in and have a burning question? I encourage you to connect with us. You can find more about us on LinkedIn, uh, also on Vibe It Up on YouTube and all over the the internet, basically. So thank you very much, Elena. It was a great pleasure. It was a fun and active and dynamic discussion. It was a blast to have you in my show. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.